welcome to the podcast, man. Thanks for coming on, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you having me. Really excited.
Yeah, no worries. How's your family?
Good. Everybody's good. Everybody's healthy, which is nice. You know, I can't complain. A little stir crazy, a little antsy, but everything's good. What about you? Everything's good with you guys?
Everything is good, man. I mean, I started off quarantine. I was looking pretty good. Now my hair's all crazy. You know, everything's clean. All my gis are clean, but everything
Just waiting.
just waiting. It's in a holding pattern.
Are you doing any type of like training in the house or isolation training or something like that, or what are you doing?
A little bit, man. Like I've been running. I've been running a little bit, and like every couple of days I'll be like, I wonder how many push-ups I can do. So like I'll try to do, like, the first time I was like, I bet I can do 1,000 push-ups in a day, and I didn't do 1,000, man. I did 320.
Wow. Hey, listen, that's still impressive. That's way far.
Way off the mark. Then the next time I did like 400 and something, so I still got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's a process. It'll be good. You'll be jacked by the end of this quarantine bod. That'll be good. You'll be good.
Yeah, I did that. I did that with pull-ups the other day too. I did like 50 pull-ups, man.
Man, crazy. You've got the motivation.
What about you, man? What have you been up to?
And I really haven't been doing too much. Like, I've been trying to like really behind the scenes right now. So I'm doing a lot of like some not top secret stuff, but I'm basically making sure that when, you know, non-essential businesses reopen again, that kind of like logic is a couple of steps higher and stronger than it was before we closed. So I'm working behind the scenes for like the membership website for like the students and my affiliates, and working really hard on like making sure that like the space is adequate. We were waiting for like some maintenance repairs to be done. So I literally live like maybe 150 feet from door to door. So it's easy to just pop in over there, which is nice. But I mean, honestly, just been kind of like enjoying the downtime. Like, you know, it is a little bit tough to not be teaching and to be around people, but it's definitely a change of pace. It's nice to be able to just kind of like relax and make sure you're scheduling things back to kind of figure out like what the next game plan is. So I'm excited for it to be over, but I haven't done any jiu-jitsu until like a webinar like last week, and that was it. I haven't trained. I haven't done anything. No running, walking really that much, no push-ups or anything like that. So just, I feel good, but nothing, absolutely nothing.
So that is one of the bonuses, man, is I do feel pretty good. Like a lot of stuff, like my fingers feel pretty good, knees, neck. And we've used like, so, you know, we've been doing this podcast for like 6 years, but most of the time, you know, I train like 5 or 6 days a week. So there's not a lot of time and usually we go to people's academy and like roll, and then we talk on the mat after. And so that's always been our thing. So this last 2 weeks, man, I've probably done 10 podcasts, like, and usually we do 10 in 10 months.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to be able to have that kind of content coming in, you know, like there's a lot of people that are like definitely in certain aspects growing and thriving from the situation, you know, so it's nice to be able to like make sure people are getting what they need to. And like, it's great that, you know, people can like foresee that, you know, so it's nice that you guys are going to have a plethora of content, which is good, and be able to kind of like keep people from going stir crazy in their house. So it's definitely huge for the community.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, it turns out I mean, I do miss rolling for sure. You know what I mean? I miss rolling. But it turns out like maybe I miss the community and the interaction more, you know, because I spend so much time on the mat with people. And so like these little talks are really more for me than like they make me feel so good.
No, it's the sense of tribe is huge, you know, and it's like, I think it's nice. I think this situation is going to make jiu-jitsu stronger, you know, because it's kind of like that analogy of like, you know, you don't know what you got until it's gone. And then like you break up with a girl and then you're like, oh man, she was great. You know, I should have done this and that, you know. And I think people now kind of like definitely seeing like, oh man, I don't know what life is like without this and that in it. So, I mean, like it's definitely, I feel it too. Like at this point in time, I recognize jiu-jitsu is just being able to like impact other people. And like, I kind of feel like empty and like without having that ability to do so, it's really, really challenging, you know? So, I mean, it's nice that you're still able to connect with people. It's nice to be able to see you. I haven't seen anybody else and be able to have conversation, you know? So it's like, but it's great. Like, you know, you're able to still kind of get your fix, quote unquote, you know, but, I'm definitely looking forward to being able to do these things how we normally did it, just a little bit better. But Yeah, it sucks. I hope it goes away soon so you can get back on the mat and then enjoy the conversations again in training as well. But it's definitely not the same as it once was. It's scary.
So yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you. Like hopefully jiu-jitsu and the world, right, comes out of this and doesn't just go back to normal, but goes back to like something better. I hope, And we were like talking about like, well, we can put out techniques, but we were like, man, so many people are putting out techniques. Like, why? So we were just like, let's just do a bunch of podcasts. And so we started even doing like we did. This is not a live one, but every Saturday night we do like a live one with like 5 or 6 different people, and we just talk about jiu-jitsu with people all over the country.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So and everybody was like, oh, I feel so much better after doing that. So I was like, all right, we should do that more.
That's like a happy hour get together for jiu-jitsu, just like pulling up cars 6 feet away from each other and just saying like, how's your week been, So it's definitely nice. But yeah, I mean, I definitely don't expect things to go back to like how they were normal because that's how we got here, but
right.
I hope to some degree, like we kind of like pick and choose the good and the bad and like make sure we just move forward in a progressive way. But yeah, I mean, I miss the community, and I'm really, really fiending to, it's only been like 3 weeks. I can't imagine, like, I don't know how I went my entire life without having jiu-jitsu. And then now all of a sudden it's been gone for 3 weeks. And I'm kind of like, man, I question everything, so it's crazy. But looking forward to it.
It does make you question everything.
It makes you question everything. It's like, this is awful. No, but it's good. I've seen the positive and it's nice. I think it's what you have to do, but yeah, so it's good. I'm glad that, like you're sane, glad that you're healthy, glad that you're got jiu-jitsu in your mind and you're looking to kind of like keep it going in any shape, way, or form. So I'm sure it's tough. I'm sure it's tough for everybody. I get messages every day, multiple times a day, like, oh, I can't wait to do this. And like, oh, hey coach. And I'm like, man, like I can't do anything to help out too much, but it's tough. I think everybody's feeling it, which is, I think brings us together more as a community as well. Like, but I know everybody's ready. So I can't wait for that day to be coming up soon.
How do you think, cause this is something I think about, like, how are we going to know when it's ready?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess there's like the quote unquote like national mandate, right? Which is like, I think I haven't checked, but like, I think as of right now, it's still April 30th, but I have like an affiliate in Virginia and like the governor literally stated their mandate is going to June 1st, so, I mean, I think it's going to be different for everybody, like we kind of closed our doors like before the mandate took place, and like my number one priority is to make sure that obviously the students are safe, and they're healthy. So like, is it ever going to be the right time? Probably not, but when that mandate is lifted, and you have the ability to open the doors, I think like that's when it starts to get a little bit safer. But I mean, I think we just need to move forward still with the kind of game plan of like, you're not feeling good. You got to make sure you're staying home. You got to make sure you're staying clean. You got to wash all your stuff. I mean, I personally don't know anybody that has experienced the coronavirus. I don't know anybody that's shown symptoms or anything else like that. I've got a couple students that are involved in the medical field, but I mean, I'm hoping that in terms of the environment that we do a good job of making sure that people don't contaminate each other and get sick. And I don't know when the right time is going to be, whether it's a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but it's scary to hear all the rumors and about like, oh, you can go back to regular business, maybe at the end of the summertime. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but I don't know when the right time is. I feel like we'll just kind of like, we're going to not like blindly do it, but just like, I think this is the right time. Let's just start running with it, and just kind of like take precautions so we don't go back to the same situation. But I hope it's sooner rather than later, but I hope it is when it's appropriate to do. I hope it's not premature at all because I don't want this to get worse. So
we just got to get like enough tests for jiu-jitsu people first. Like jiu-jitsu people need to get tested first.
Yeah.
Then we can all roll and then everybody can get tested after that.
I hear there's like some underground clubs, and they joke around about saying like, you got to have your testing done before you come in and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know. It's tough because I mean, since I've done jiu-jitsu, I know people like come in with sniffles and all of a sudden you're kind of like, hey man, like don't come in, you're going to get someone sick. And like either they got someone sick or they stopped showing up, whatever it may be. But like, this is obviously a lot more serious. So, but I mean, it's tough because I think at some point in time, it's like, if this evolves and the vaccines are out in time, there's going to be that little gray area where people are going to have to kind of make decisions and act accordingly until like we can have a vaccine or, guidelines that are a little bit more strong. But like I said, I don't know. It's scary because I feel like every time we get close to a mandate, they just keep pushing it back. And if that's what's necessary, it's got to be supported. But I mean, like the world's falling apart, seems like. So I hope it's all for the right purpose.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, like, you know, a month ago, or I've lost track of time, but like in mid-February, we went to Puerto Rico, had a great trip, but I did not respect the coronavirus at that time. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, whatever. Like, and then I started talking to some people like around the world that I knew through jiu-jitsu. And I was like, oh, maybe this thing is for real, you know, like, and we started like investigating it. And so man, a couple weeks ago, we did a first Zoom podcast like this. And we talked to my friend Daniel Bertina from the Netherlands. And he was like, hey, I got this. You know, I got the coronavirus. And I was like, oh, like that was the first person that I've talked to that had it. And I was like super worried about him today. So I sent him a message. I was like, hey, man, how you doing? I haven't heard back. But and then I've recently talked to some friends in New York City. And you know, New York City obviously is like pretty crazy. But on the positive side, you know, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she's bummed out because she'd probably rather be in school, you know. And I know you have a young child.
Yeah.
But we've got to spend some cool time together, you know, doing some stuff. You're not in like your child is pretty young though, 2 or something?
Yeah, she just turned 2 last month. Yeah. Her birthday was during the mandate, so we couldn't do anything, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, she's 2. She's young enough to where like this, she's just a kid. She doesn't know what's going on, and she's not really affected. She still gets to run around the house like a maniac, and to a degree, you know, like go outside and do her thing. But like, there's no difference for her. So it's nice to see her more often. But I see her just as much as if I ever did. I mean, I see her more now because I'm not traveling and doing whatnot. But I mean, yeah, I mean, she's just innocent, you know.
Yeah, we're into. You know, we've been thrust, and I actually am considered my job as essential, because I have a normal job too, and so I've been working still in a you know, and it's like a good situation where I'm not near anybody, but so my wife is more in charge of, you know, during the day homeschooling situation, but we've been thrust into homeschooling, you know, 3rd grade. And I'll say this, man, the teachers in our school district have done an amazing job of putting together like some really awesome stuff. But so it's been a good adventure. We've been listening to, we just listened to the Cricket in Times Square audiobook, which is really good. And today I learned about Monterey Aquarium in like Northern California. You can go to their website and they have live cams on like otters and jellyfish, and it's awesome.
It's crazy. I mean, it's definitely, like I said, like we were touching on, it's like there's a lot of positivity to the situation, you know, and there's a lot of things that are only existing now because of what's going on. It's going to impact the future a huge way. But like that's a great example, you know, and it's crazy to see. But yeah, man, I mean, I hear all the time, like I have got students and I've got their parents and whatnot, but like I hear other people talk about it too, where it's just like, oh, it's a little scary, but like I'm learning new things so I can be able to homeschool my kid. And it's just like, it's an empowering situation, you know, it's very positive, you know, but I'm sure like it's impacting the kids to a degree too, not being able to socialize with their friends, and they are spending more time with their family. You know, that's the whole purpose of going to school, right? You know, I mean, I'm sure if you wanted to homeschool your child, they wouldn't even be going to school to begin with, you know? So I guess it's nice to experience both and then whatnot. But I mean, kids deserve to be around other kids and experience that life, you know? And it's tough to be like, hey, you got to stay in the house and you can't do that. Like I said, I hope it doesn't last for too long because like, you know, there's a lot of vital moments for people to experience their childhood, you know? So it's coming close to summer and, you know, like the school year is getting almost done, you know, but like, it is also cool to be like, you know, I sat down and I listened to an audiobook with my dad, you know, and that's definitely huge, you know, but there's got to be that balance of things. And I think it's nice we're experiencing that balance now, you know, and it'll be good to like move forward. I think we're going to have a lot of change with like how people think like, oh, we couldn't have done this online. We can't do this from home. And all of a sudden it can all be done, you know? So,
right.
You know, it's a little bit easier now of like, oh, I'm going to take my kid on a vacation for 3 weeks because I know for sure we can homeschool and we can do things online and they can experience that kind of life, you know? So I'm definitely excited to see how the world is impacted by this in a positive way, and it's going to be huge. But I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying your time with your family. But you're still doing your essential work, So
we're lucky, man. We're in a good spot. Nobody's sick. Like number one, nobody's sick in our family, and our so. That's the most important thing, right? Like, nobody's sick, dude. Like, I listen, I don't want to dwell too much on this whole thing because I think it's a serious thing, but also, like, it's just good to be positive and do talk about the stuff that we love. But so I listened to this podcast today, non-jiu-jitsu related, and it was an Italian guy who lives in Peru, and he's a travel writer, and while he was in both his parents are, 60s, 70s, whatever, something. And both of them died within 3 days of each other while he was in Peru. And he talks about it, and it was just like, bam, heavy and real. And so it is a real thing. But, hopefully we'll all get through it, like you said, and we'll all be better, and positivity will win the day for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely.
So, how did you, like, back in the day, how did you get into jiu-jitsu, man, to start? Like, what was going on that made you be like, I want to grapple around in my pajamas with other dudes?
I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. I mean, when I started training, I was 20. I was young, egotistical, I wasn't a book smart kid. I wasn't into school. I wasn't, like, into the whole college thing, and I was actually adopted, like, later on in life. Like, I was around like 16 years old or something like that. So, my dad is very, very old school. He's old. But he's like, went to UPenn, went to Wharton, like, stupid smart, owns his own insurance company, is all about, like, work hard, go to college, create for your family, work like 3,000 hours a week, but, I just wasn't into it. I just wasn't who I was. But, I was playing professional paintball for, like, majority of, like, my high school career. And I was kind of, like, starting to fall out of it. I wasn't really into it as much. The passion had left. And my brother, or my adopted brother, was doing Muay Thai, and his academy was starting this jiu-jitsu program. And he's like, you should totally come try this out. I think you'd like it. And I'm just kind of like, playing touch butt in the park's not really my thing, and I'm not really sure that's going to work out. But I went, I took one class, and that was it. And I literally just trained as much as I could, as often as I could. And I just dived right into it. And I sucked really bad, but I just didn't stop. I mean, that was in Philly, and that was 2008.
Where was the academy?
It was called Body Arts Gym. So it was literally a Muay Thai gym. It was on 2nd Street. It was owned by Angel Cartagena, and their jiu-jitsu program was a balanced program. So Rick and Phil Miglioris had a brown belt. His name was Sean Smith, and he started the program there. And there was only, like, my brother started doing it because it was, like, part of our thing. And then, like, we had a mutual friend who we went to high school with, and he was doing it as well. But it was a very small program. It was less than, like, 10 people. And it was just, like, everybody was huge. I think the next smallest person was maybe 40 pounds heavier than me. And some of the dudes were like 200 pounds. And back then I didn't know there was a difference. You just trained. Yeah, it was right in the heart of Northern Liberties. It was a huge staple. The Angel did a lot with that academy. It impacted a lot of people. It changed lives, and yeah, I mean, things just grew from there. And I just kind of started excelling and understanding my goals were changing and shifting, and I made some commitments, and just the sky was the limit from there. But I mean, that was literally actually last month was my 12th year jiu-jitsu anniversary, and I literally, since that day I started training, I just didn't stop, and just kept going. What
were your goals then when you started at that place?
I didn't really know what it was, so I didn't know what was possible. I just knew, like, immediately after my first class, I knew this is something I was going to do for my entire life. It's like, jiu-jitsu is going to be a part of it somehow, some way. And as I continued to train, and people would kind of gas me up a little bit, and like, man, you got a lot of potential, you're good. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're 6 people in here. How good can I be? Type of thing. Started to understand there was competitions and tournaments, and I wanted to test myself. And I wasn't really goal oriented yet, other than I just wanted to be good at jiu-jitsu. And then once I experienced a higher level of jiu-jitsu, I started doing, like, pro divisions for Grappler's Quest, and I started seeing the BJJ. I was like, man, okay, like, jiu-jitsu is going to be my career. I want to own my own academy one day. I want to be an instructor one day. And this is how I'm going to do it, So my goal before I even did jiu-jitsu was to have a family, So like that was always whatever I'm going to do for that was important, But at first it was paintball, then I went to jiu-jitsu, and I moved around a lot because of it. So because my goals were shifting and they're becoming more aggressive, I thought I had to be in an environment that was more thriving by my definition. So I bounced all around. I trained with Cyborg, head instructor at Drysdale, went to San Diego, So they just kind of moved it along as we went. But it wasn't until I was like maybe mid purple belt where I was like, man, like, I need to be a jiu-jitsu world champion. I need to go to ADCCs. I need to do this and that, But for a while it was just fun, and I just wanted to kind of like push the envelope as far as it would go. But once it became serious and it became a job, that's where my goals were really, really strict, and I started fully giving to the lifestyle and just staying focused.
When did it become a job? When you went to Drysdale, when you were teaching at Drysdale's?
I was teaching as a blue belt, and I taught as a purple belt, and I would teach. I taught in Philly. I taught a little bit for Cyborg because he would travel up, teach seminars. But when I went to Las Vegas was when it was like, this is a notch up. I feel like I'm going to be in the right environment, and I want to be teaching full time, and I want to be training full time. I'm not doing anything. I never had a job anyway, but so when I got to Drysdale's, I was just kind of like, this is what we got to do. And we butted heads a little bit at first. Then we got together, and like me and him were on the same page. I was his right-hand man. I started learning the business. I understood marketing, advertising, how to run a business, understand it from a bunch of different situations, the curriculum, the affiliation stuff. And so that was literally the tail end of my purple belt, and he gave me my brown belt. So this was like 2011, 12-ish, So, it took me about 3 or 4 years before I kind of I was serious about jiu-jitsu and I was training, but it wasn't something that was as serious. Like that's definitely a huge scale from that point forward. Then yes, from that point forward, it was just like, this is the game plan. And then 2013, I won everything, and then started to become more serious, had more sponsors, and jiu-jitsu was changing as well. Started teaching seminars, and like that was unheard of for brown belts. And I started to get money, and I was like, this is unheard of too, So the light was at the end of the tunnel. Jiu-jitsu was evolving, which was great. I was like pursuing an MMA career at the same time simultaneously, but that's when it got really serious in Las Vegas.
How do you think like jiu-jitsu since you started has changed?
I think because of technology, especially like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be, is that you're seeing almost like an instantaneous ability for modernizing anything that takes place. So let's say me and you were in Brazil 10 years ago, whatever it may be, and we see this technique and it was new to us, but someone was like, hey, I just learned this from someone else. I was traveling. Like word of mouth takes a lot longer 10 years ago for jiu-jitsu. So, and because you don't have Flow Grappling or whoever it is live streaming the events, you're not seeing a lot of these matches take place. You're not seeing the techniques, the breakdowns, whatever the analysis, whatever it may be. But I think jiu-jitsu in terms of an MMA, but because it went more mainstream and because of technology, people were able to access information more efficiently, and with that ability, people were getting better faster. So, to be a 19-year-old black belt 10 years ago, i.e. JT Torres, right? If you took JT Torres as a 19-year-old black belt then, and then you had a JT Torres 19-year-old black belt now, I'm pretty sure the 19-year-old now would kill that one just because of the amount of information that's out, right? So the game just evolves now at such a more rapid pace, and the world can keep up with it because of the sharing capabilities. But if you watch the Meows at Purple Belt doing Barambolos and modernizing it and revolutionizing it, no one really knew about it until it was already too late, and they became so good at it that now you're trying to catch up. And now you see one thing, and all of a sudden it catches fire and it's gone, So for me, that's the biggest change in jiu-jitsu. And because of that, obviously it became more of a higher ability to monetize and had more value, so people were putting more into it. But I think that's what sparked it. I think that was like a major attribute for what jiu-jitsu was then compared to now.
I almost feel like it evolves so fast now, because even when I started, you could get information from Scott Nelson and On the Mat or whatever. And it was almost like in Budo videos, and those two things are kind of not even things anymore. Right.
They came in, right. And they became almost phased out because of more modern approaches, whatever it may be, and flow grappling and whatnot. But yeah, it's huge change.
They were huge. You know, like I would get, like you would order a gi from On the Mat, and they give you like the videos, and you'd see like all these old videos, and now I feel like in some ways it's almost like the internet has, and it's awesome. Like I love to be able to watch jiu-jitsu videos, and but it seems like there's a downfall. It can be like it evolves too fast, and like people can just get too much information. It's like hitting it with a fire hose, you know?
I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think because in terms of who we are and how we grew up in jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like, oh man, like it's definitely outside of our comfort zone, right? But I mean, I think that's what it's like with any sport that grows, you know, whatnot. But I mean, you have kids now that are doing the techniques or the concepts that perhaps you and I were doing. They were doing them years before we were doing them, right? We're kind of like, as a dad and a grandpa, like, hey, like, slow down, right? You know, but I mean, I'll go to a seminar and I'll teach, and I'll roll with people, and like there'll be a juvenile blue belt, and the kid can berimbolo that equivalent of a brown belt. And you're like, man, you got a really good berimbolo, but absolutely has no understanding of anything else. Doesn't understand guard retention. Doesn't understand the ability to like control the bottom leg. Doesn't understand how to like the specific mindset of controlling this one position, because there's so much information. And because of the ability of how he can access it, he's not guided in accessing it. He kind of picks and chooses what he wants to do. So he wants the berimbolo, you know? So I definitely do agree. I think to a degree it's dangerous. You know, I mean, it kind of almost be like going to college and not having a professor, just being like, here's all the information and we'll see you at the end of 4 years and we'll give you a test, you know? So, but it's tough because I think that's part of the evolution. You know, you see like the good and the bad and what we agree and disagree with, but I mean, the kids now are better than the kids were then. And I think, you know, the new generation is absolutely ridiculous. You look at the Rotullo brothers, you know, like purple belts that literally beat up black belts, grown men that are 80cc veterans, medalists, and world champions. And at some point in time, they're going to be the old generation because of their time frame, you know. But it's definitely interesting to see. I definitely think the access to information is almost like it's anybody can get it. The way that it's structured, you know, it's definitely tough. I definitely spend a decent amount of time sharing with my students, like, hey, like there's so much out there and you should definitely learn it, but understand how you should learn those things. It's going to impact you greatly, you know, but not everybody has the ability to kind of have that kind of a conversation before they go in and learn, you know, but to each their own. It's all going to create an impact, but it's not really my point of view because they're not my students. Or, I mean, if I could go back and do it, I'd probably do the same thing. Like, I just want a bolo. Sure. You know, I don't know.
Oh, dude, I say it from experience because I just jump into the whole thing and I'm like, oh, look at this thing over here. Look at this thing over here. Like, oh, this is amazing. But, you know, you bring up a cool, like, you know, the Rutolo brothers. The fact that those guys are still doing it and they're still awesome makes me so happy, because when you see kids, and I don't know them, you know, but when you see kids that like maybe are getting famous when they're young, sometimes I get nervous because you're like, man, I hope that, like, you know, you see childhood actors or whatever, and man, it's like you can really easily go down the dark road. But it seems like those guys are still super into it and are doing well.
Their environment, not like the Atos environment, but like their home environment, their parents are amazing people. Their understanding of things, how they guide their children is like, that's why the brothers and their little sister are the way that they are, you know, like they've got a very particular lifestyle. They're incredibly humble. They're incredibly respectful. I literally have witnessed, I've partook in terms of the opposite side of the spectrum, but seen them murder black belts that go into Atos. And you would literally, from my point of view, that was me, if I was a young blue belt and I just tapped a black belt, my head would be blown up off the top of my shoulders. I'm just looking at my instructor like, hey, like, when's the next belt type of thing? And like, these kids will literally shake your hand and say thank you, and they appreciate you. And like, they're very, very different in a sense of they're great human beings, but it's all because of their parents. You know, their parents did a great job. They're incredibly supportive and how they've raised them, I guess you could say. But I remember having students that I would go to California with from Las Vegas, and they would fight the twins. And I've seen them experience losing. I've seen them experience winning. And they literally, you couldn't even tell a difference unless you watch, because they handle it the same way, you know. And it's great to see them be such leaders for that generation, you know. But they're great human beings. Like literally, I would let them babysit my daughter, you know, like they're great human beings, and on and off the mat, they're amazing people. And like, they're literally going to continue to shock the world for the next decade, hands down.
That's awesome. So man, I feel like people don't know maybe, but like Philly is old school and was like kind of like a hotbed of jiu-jitsu back in the day. Like the Migliore's brothers, Steve Maxwell and Maxercise and Jared and the whole, like, you know, it's crazy how much old school jiu-jitsu there was.
Yeah. I mean, it's still like here, which is great. Like Rick and Phil have an amazing program. They've got very successful academies, multiple academies, affiliates, you know. Jared's the same way. Like Jared's academy still, I think, don't misquote me, but like Jared, I think they just had their anniversary like last week. I mean, like these academies have been here for literally like decades, plural, like two, you know? So, but I mean, like, yeah, jiu-jitsu in Philly is very traditional. It's very like, you know, it's got that old school vibe, you know, like that's why I love Jared. Jared was one of my instructors, you know, and like I'm drawn to him because he's just kind of like, you know, like this is how we do things. It's very Philly. Philly is very, when you like experience Philly, you go to a Flyers game or something like that, or like you order a cheesesteak. Philly has this character that is literally like, you almost hate it if you have to face it, but when you have it, you're very proud of it, you know, and like you can see that with sports and the fans and whatnot, and they're a bit crazy, but the jiu-jitsu is the same way. Everybody's very like proud of Philadelphia, being from Philly, you know, but like the people here have literally, they've had black belts. I mean, I think Phil is like a 5 or 6 stripe black belt, and he's still doing yoga, still teaching, still interacting with students. And I'm just like, it's a dude I look up to, you know, it's a great guy, you know, and Rick and him do a great job. Rick is a monster. Like that dude could go into IBJJF right now, and I think he would kill a lot of people. Different story. But to see them be such a strong part of like the foundation of jiu-jitsu in Philadelphia, you know, it's huge, you know, because at some point in time they were all like boys and teammates. Then they kind of started to separate, made their own like academies and whatnot. And I mean, for the most part, like there's no real waves in Philadelphia. Everybody's very respectful towards each other. Cause I mean, you can draw a 5 mile radius circle around Philadelphia and you'll hit, you know, 6 or 7 different academies, and not like affiliate academies, like a Gracie Humaita, an Atos affiliate. It's balance, you know, like you've got like different things, and nobody makes waves. Nobody's doing any black hat marketing. Everybody's just really supportive, and it's really cool. You know, it's something that I haven't experienced too much of in other parts of the country because I've been there and I've taught there and I've experienced it, you know, but like, I think because it's really, really old, it's experienced a lot. So it's kind of, even though maybe it has a more traditional approach of problem solving, it has a lot of experience behind it, a lot of like a veteran type of mentality. It's kind of like, we've been through it. Like this is how we get through it type of thing. So it's cool, but it's great to be here. It's great to start my journey here and end it here, which is nice, you know, and I couldn't be more proud to be Philadelphia Jiu-Jitsu.
You ever get a hard time back in the day when you were moving around, you know, like changing teams and that whole thing? Were people giving you a hard time?
Called a creanche many times, you know, and a lot of people, but you know what? I think it wasn't really about what I was doing. I think to take responsibility was how I was delivering the information. You know, I wasn't very mature. I wasn't able to clearly communicate, you know, what I was expecting. So like, it was really tough for people to probably be supportive of that, you know, and I kind of did it multiple times, and each time I did it a little bit different, but it was definitely frowned upon, you know, to be jumping around. And Philadelphia back in the day had a very strong Lloyd Irvin affiliate program, right? So like Jared was Lloyd Irvin. You had multiple academies that were Lloyd Irvin. You had Brad Daddis that were Lloyd Irvin, but it was, you could kind of like train and cross train with other Lloyd Irvin affiliates, which made it helpful, you know, and this is how like JT and I became so close, you know, but yeah, I mean, once I would move, like some people I didn't even know would be like, man, you're a creanche, you're a trader. And I'm just kind of like, okay. You know, like, you paying my bills this month? No. I'm like, oh, well, listen, Bob, white belt, who sits on his chair, 45 years old. I really don't care, you know, but you still see it now, you know, like when the information gets out there, people have their opinions, and it's really tough. But I never had like Jared or Cyborg or Drysdale like look at me and be like, yo, you're a traitor, you're a creanche, you know, like I think because they were athletes and they understood, you know, being an athlete, you know, like it's possible you may switch teams, and most of them already did, you know, so they kind of get it, you know, and I probably didn't deliver, like I said, the information the best way, but I've got a strong relationship with every instructor that I've ever had, you know, and I can call them, I can text them, I can go train with them, and there's no negative type of poise against me with it, and they're very supportive, like still to this day, which is great, you know. So, but it's a lot of the creanche thing, the trader thing comes from the outside, not even my own teammates to a degree. A couple of them I could see, like, depending on what their goals were, like it impacted them a lot. But other than that, it was just always outside people. Like when I left Drysdale's and I went to San Diego, and like it's posted about, like I got like death threat messages from people. I'm like, man, like it's jiu-jitsu. What are you talking about? Like, not a big deal, you know, like I left the team, like Rob's not mad. Why are you mad? You know, like, but you're going to get it from everybody.
And I think one positive thing is, I mean, it does still exist, but I feel like jiu-jitsu is way more open now.
Yeah.
And I love that personally, you know, because I like to travel around and train with everybody.
I think it definitely depends on, like, I think jiu-jitsu now is especially to, like, you're able to be identified as something, like a hobbyist, an athlete, an instructor, a competitor, whatever it may be. So it's a little bit different, you know, but like, a lot of the athletes now, you're able to see, like, oh, this is more of a serious sport, you know, like, yes, you represent a team, there's a patch on your back and there's points, whatever it may be. But like, I mean, LeBron James gets traded to a different team, you know, like these things happen, you know? And I think now it's definitely more mainstream, and it's easier to be like, hey, like, yeah, I train at GB, but like I'm here with my family on a business trip. Can I stop and train? Like, yeah, no problem. You know, like you're still going to hit those moments of where like there's resistance, you know, because that's just how it is. It's not going to be, you know, like, oh, okay, just change the floodgates. But it's nice to have that. It's nice to have that globetrotter mentality. It's nice to be able to meet friends. It's nice to be able to be like, oh man, remember we trained? Like, I still talk to people. My affiliation has been built on the fact that I went and taught seminars and met people, you know? So like, if everybody had that closed mind, they'd just be cheating themselves and be able to have these relationships with people. And it's huge. You know, you talk about like Daniel and like, oh, I reached out to him and like, it was a huge impact in this situation, right? Like, you probably would have known Daniel unless it was for the Globetrotter camp, right? So like, you know, like, I mean, it's great that jiu-jitsu has definitely evolved, and it's going to continue to evolve, like, because of guys like Kristian with Globetrotters and stuff like that, you know, but there's always going to be those people that are very old school mentality that are speaking broken, bad English grammar, and they're just kind of like, you're a traitor, you know, like that's it, you know, and you're kind of like, okay, thanks, you know, but I don't think you see it as much now, and it's great, and I think we'll see even less of it later, but I mean, it's important. It's a tribe, it's a community, you know, like we all wear different patches, but we're also wearing a gi, you know, so I think it's important we just kind of keep that, and we continue to grow with things like black belts for butterflies and tap cancer outs and stuff like that, because that's what starts to, like, you know, erase that line of why we're separate and brings us more together.
Yeah, because like you said, man, really, I mean, I love jiu-jitsu and it's important in my life, but it is just jiu-jitsu, you know?
I can't imagine me telling you like, oh, you're like, hey, I'm going to go away, blah, blah, blah. No, you can't train while you're there.
Yeah.
Pardon? Like, excuse me? Like, no, I can't do it. It's just like, I knew that it's how it was at some point in time, you know, but like, it's just like, I don't understand it. It's probably because I've created so many waves when I was younger, but I don't understand the traditional mentality, you know, and like, and especially at that age back then where you told me I couldn't do something, even if I didn't want to do it, I would do it purposely now just because you told me I couldn't do it, you know, but I mean, there's jiu-jitsu as a whole, the people, I would say, like, to assume the best of them, like, they're great people, like, you know, and like, I've literally met friends that don't even speak English, being in Rome, competing and being like, oh, hey, like, can I train? They're like, no words. And then they're like, jiu-jitsu. And you're like, yeah, that's the language we both speak, right? Like, it's just crazy. Like, it's everything, but it's not a big deal at the same time. Like, don't make it a big deal, you know, like, when it comes to passion, like, you should be able to do whatever you want. If you can't, like, it's great though, because then it's an indicator, like, you know, like, what's going on here? Why can't I train somewhere else, you know? But it's definitely tough.
Like, what are you hiding? Like, what are you hiding? You know,
what don't you want me to see? You know, and it's,
right? Or what are you worried? Like, what kind of weird insecurity do you have? Like that is a thing, you know? And so, yeah, that turned out to be one of my favorite things, is that you can go, you know, and I've done it. I've gone to places, wherever, you name it, you know, places in Mexico, places all over the U.S., went and trained with people, met the people at the academy and be like, hey, I'm from out of town. They're like, oh, let me show you, like, this, my town, you know, and next thing you know, you're doing this stuff. And then next thing you know, you're going to black belts for butterflies and being absolutely like, I haven't been to a black belts for butterflies where I haven't cried.
Exactly. Yep.
It's like, it's amazing. Those things are amazing. That's huge to me for sure.
And I think that's, like I said, that's a key aspect of understanding that it's a community, it's a tribe, and like you can't, I guess it's tough to say because it's the same thing from the opposite perspective, but like you can't tell people they can't do it, but I guess you can because that's just the same thing from the opposite side of the spectrum. But like there's just so much beauty to jiu-jitsu of like you're only cheating yourself if you don't experience it all, like I'm not saying run around and do something that's like definitely bad, like, hey, I'm not going to pay my tuition here, I'm not going to pay my tuition there, I'm just going to run around and jump around or do whatever else like that. But like to some degree, like I think it's very healthy to experience multiple different environments and be like, I love this about this one, I don't like it about that one, and that's why I enjoy this one more, whatever it may be. But like it's gotta be remaining in a progressive type of positive way. And it's tough, but I understand it from both sides. I've been there from both sides, so it's definitely something that's tough, but I think the jiu-jitsu community deals with it well, and it's like great to see. We had a lot of people at the Connecticut Black Belts for Butterflies, right? Like there was like gi people, no gi people, 10th Planet, regular people, competitors, non-competitors, right? Show your role in A and P. And then like, it's like, nobody cares, right? It's just like, we're all here together. Like all those things that make us different go away. It's like, what do we focus on that brings us together, And it's like the fact that we can literally raise money by using an event like Black Belts for Butterflies for a great cause is only because of that type of understanding, like, you couldn't have done that 10 years ago with jiu-jitsu. It never would have happened because someone would be like, oh, no, we don't train there. We don't go over there. We don't support that. And it's like, what about the cause? No. It's like, man.
They can't know my techniques. They might use them against me.
It's like, oh, okay, sure, man. Like, again, right, go on YouTube. Like, well, there's all the techniques, so now I guess we can go, right? It's like, man, there's no secrets anymore. It's just like, just do jiu-jitsu. You're either good or you're not, if that's what's important to you. You're literally good or you're not good. And if it's not important to you, just do jiu-jitsu. Just have fun.
You're cool or you're not, like, which then
it's no one cares, man. It's just go. Like, it's there's so much there potentially for people, like, and it's one thing if they selectively don't take it, but when someone gives the power to someone else of being able to choose for them, that's what's sad, and it's only natural because the whole hierarchy system and the power, the black belt and whatever that means. But, I hope that fades out as well at some point in time.
Right. Because it's just like, right. Something you learn just because someone's good at jiu-jitsu doesn't mean they're good at anything else, period.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And so a thing that I think, a thing I've gotten out of jiu-jitsu really too has been like, the ability to like not be afraid to try, new stuff now and realize that like doing new stuff like is awesome, and sucking at like, because, you do enough jiu-jitsu, when you start, maybe you're like, oh, it's uncomfortable and I'm like nervous. But then it becomes super normal. And like, it's more normal for me to be on the mat than anywhere else. So I'm not going out of my comfort zone usually when I'm training because I've been crushed by all, I've had my ass kicked by everybody that's good. So but then I was like, oh, but I could like learn how to play guitar, and so you go and you suck at that. And like, you remember, you're like, oh, this is what it's like to suck at something, like, damn. And so that is a gift I've gotten from jiu-jitsu,
I mean, I think a lot of people like understand that too, like going back to being a student type of thing, like, I think everybody has their own reason for jiu-jitsu, whether it's tribe or going back to that mentality of just wanting to learn, self-defense, getting in shape, be competitive, whatever it may be. But like, I mean, I think jiu-jitsu, because I don't really do much, I haven't done much, but like jiu-jitsu definitely checks your ego. It's like, hey man, like, let's pull you out of this. Let's put you into this way. Like, use this to apply. Like, I'm sure you hear it all the time from people that are like, I have students who literally say like, man, like if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, like I probably would have not gotten this raise that I demanded for like 2 months ago, and like, I used to be scared to like talk to certain people at my job, but now I'm like, I come here and like, this dude's trying to choke me. Like, like, I'm like, yeah, it puts things in a perspective, but it's definitely nice to kind of like, everybody's got a different take on it. My take is like, jiu-jitsu makes you realize how insignificant and small we really are, like, like the world doesn't change whether I'm here or not, you know? And it's like, maybe my jiu-jitsu is good, maybe it's bad. No one really cares. It doesn't mean anything, you know? And it's like, oh, I don't want to get tapped. And it's like, no one cares if you do either, you know? It's just like, man, like, just give yourself to it and like see what it does. Like, it's like so powerful, you know? And it's like, once you realize that, like, I literally tell people, like, dude, just let go. Just let go. Whatever it is. And some people are far left and far right, just let go. And then all of a sudden just, and it blows up. But I mean, it's
nobody does really care, right? Like it's like we can get in our own little bubble and like surrounded by other jiu-jitsu people, and we get all like, you know, excited about little jiu-jitsu things. But even though jiu-jitsu has grown a lot, it's still not very big. And most people don't know what Atos is, or, you know, a guillotine, or, you know, or whatever the thing, you know, berimbolo. Like, you could say that to how many billions of people and they'd be like, Baron what?
Yeah, you know, I think it's like, we're definitely like our biggest critics. And I think that's why like jiu-jitsu is great too. Cause like the last person to break is yourself, you know, whatever it may be. But like, I mean, as a competitor, literally at the beginning, I would say like half of my career, my competitive angst, my motivation was to kind of prove people wrong. Right. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then I had a nice chunk where I was trying to prove people right.
Uh-huh.
Chunk at the end where I was just kind of like, what's left to prove, you know? And it's just like, I would watch videos of Marcelo. I'd watch videos of André. I'd watch videos of anybody who's anybody in jiu-jitsu, and they all lose. Right. And I tell myself, like, I'm not as good as André, but like, I can't lose. And it's like, well, André lost, you know? And it's like, and then you see, like, you watch your teammates lose or they get submitted, and you watch to see how Andre's going to respond to them, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, nothing changed.
He didn't get kicked off the team.
Changed. What happened here? You know, and it's like you start to realize, like, you know, the people that you're perhaps scared of letting down or judging you or whatever the mentality is behind it, is they're more worried about your character than your ability to display your jiu-jitsu skill or lack thereof, right? Like, man, I've gone out there and I've like demolished people in front of André, and I look at him, he's just kind of like, all right, you know? And then I've gone out there and I've gotten demolished, and I look at him, he's just like, I'm like, there's no difference. Like, why? And it's just because I'm displaying the same character every time, right? Like, and that's what he's looking for. And when he's not happy with that, he tells me, you know, like if he said like, hey, I only like you if you win, we would probably have a huge problem. He probably would not like me anymore, right? You know, like it's just tough, you know, but when you meet people and they're part of your tribe and your circle, like they want you to succeed. They want you to grow, but like, they don't care if you win or lose. My wife's not standing there on the mat being like, oh, I saw you got swept. Like, that's it. It's over. I'll be like, wait, what? What's going on? You know, like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like literally, like I look around sometimes and I try to see who's watching, and nobody cares. Nobody's watching, you know, like, but it's tough. I mean, like I said, we're our biggest critic, you know, and like, we're always watching, you know, and I think that's the thing, you know? So I think it's just about getting aligned with people and just realizing like, hey, like, yeah, it'd be great if you don't lose, you don't get tapped, you don't get swept, you don't get passed. Like, you know, if it happens, like, we don't care, you know? It's, all right, maybe that makes it easier, but sometimes the pressure makes you not get those things happen, you know? And I understand that from both sides. As a competitor, I was like, man, go to sleep, don't get tapped, go to sleep, you know? Yeah. And because I didn't tap and I was about to go to sleep, the guy let go, and then I win, you know? And I'm like, man, if I just would have tapped, I would have lost, right? You know? So like I see it from both sides, but I think one side's a little bit more healthy. You know, one side's more beneficial, but nobody cares. That's what nobody cares. Tell me, like, man, like, what's up? Like, oh, I suck. I'm like, okay, you know,
we all do.
Yeah, I'm like, man, like, so everybody does. Yeah, but like, you don't. I'm like, dude, I suck.
Right.
I suck. And I'm like, if we want to compare, I've been doing it for a lot longer than you. So like, talk to me and compare us when you've been doing it for 12 years. And then you'll see that I suck too. I'll just suck less now because I've been doing it for another 12, right? And like, oh, okay, got it, you know? But jiu-jitsu is brutal. It's like because there's so much, it's so concentrated that like the hits are hard, good, strong, bad, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy.
It's something we always say too to like new people. Like, it's like, and you're talking about it, right? With tapping. It's like, dude, how many, you know, every black belt you've ever met has tapped more than you know, you, the blue belt guy who don't want to tap. Like, that dude is tapped, and I've tapped a bazillion times. Like, you got to tap a lot to get to that spot. if you want to, and I think if you want to do it for your life, right, for your whole life, you got to tap. You got to, you're not going to do it for your life if you don't.
I think there's any fire, like along the side of the fire stories where it's like, there's this guy who never tapped. Like there's nothing like that. There's no urban legend or anything else like that. Like I said, but it's tough, but I have seen, like I said, I have seen certain people and, and their mentality is like, oh, like I got swept. Like, oh, I got passed, I got submitted, and it's like, and like, you can't tell them like, hey, like you should care more. Right. It's about what are your goals. Right. And it's like, they're like, hey, like I'm just here to have fun and I'm having fun. And it's like, do it, right? But if I look over and my guy's like, hey, I want to compete, and then like I see him give up a sweep. And I'm like, why'd you do that? And then like he explains why. And I'm like, okay, well, like now we're on the same page, like because of your goals and what you just said, like that was a bad thing to do. Like you can't accept that, right? Like, yes, it's okay, but you can't accept it, right? Like, but it's tough because there's so many different people, it's so many different thought process, but it's like, you have to fail. It's got a consistent understanding of like not failure, like end game, but like failing to create success. Because like when you run away from just failing at all, like you're never going to succeed, But I mean, it's funny to watch because I knew I went through it. You went through it, right? It was just like, oh man, I don't want to get beat up today. Or like I already got beat up. I don't want to get beat up anymore. And you're like trying so hard and it still doesn't work, and you're like, gosh, should I suck?
I still go through it, man. You know what I mean? I go back and forth. Like sometimes I talk to myself like I'm talking to someone, it's like, dude, because I'll be like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, and then I'm like, dude, just relax. Like, it's not a big deal. And then I'll be like, no, it's a big deal. I have a little battle between myself because I am competitive too. I'm a competitive. Yeah.
Like, shut up. Like, no, you talk now. Like, I get it. Well, I think it's healthy to be competitive, right? But you've got the experience to kind of like, you've got that experience to where like when you have that conversation back and forth, the end result will never be quitting. For a younger person, for someone who's newer to jiu-jitsu, sometimes that end result is a quit because of it, and it's like, it's great that you can be like, hey, like I still go through this. I can still talk to you about it. I do it all the time with me, like it gives people that understanding of like, oh, I'm not alone, right? Like, no, 100%. It's natural. You're a human being.
And maybe that's the lesson of jiu-jitsu, right? Is that failing is not a bad thing if you don't quit, right?
I haven't done anything. I haven't experienced anything ever in my life, whether it was school, relationships, paintball, jiu-jitsu, MMA, where it's just like, hey, don't fail at all in any shape, way, or form. It's just like I've never experienced it. And like I'm not the best at jiu-jitsu. I'm not the best at being an instructor. I'm not the best at running an academy. I'm not the best so like my opinion probably doesn't have as much value, but I definitely think that in terms of who I am today and the character I can display and the talents that I have are more so built from the failure side than it is from the success side, So like in actuality, I should have failed even more. I'd be better than I am now in those things, but you can't go back in time. I wish we could, but you just got to keep going forward and just kind of like understand that process and just growing, but it's just about patience.
So I was talking to this guy, Daniel, who I was telling you about, and he's living outside of Amsterdam, and he's like, my friend Nelson calls him a hippie. He's like, he's making bread and he's making kombucha, where all these stuff. So I was like, oh man, maybe I'll make some bread. And so he sent me like this thing, it's sourdough bread where you make it. It's like, but you don't use yeast, and it's like naturally occurring yeast. And so I'm like, I'll make the bread, dude. It's not going to be a big deal, And man, I've had some struggles with the bread, right? And so like I'm failing, but I didn't quit. I was like, man, I'll figure the bread thing out, And my daughter, she's like making it with me, and I told her the other day, I was like, we'll have bread, maybe 6 months, but we'll have bread.
100%. I mean, it's what it's all about, right? It's just like, there's just so many, I think as human beings, it's natural, like, especially if you're persistent, we're just kind of like, I'll figure it out, right? Like, I was never a guy that read directions or instructions. I'm just like, I'll figure this shit out, and it's just like, didn't work. It worked. Look, the couch is put together, like it worked, like it probably went on for 5 or 6 hours longer than it had to, whatever it may be, but it's like going into a video game and not playing the tutorial, and you're just kind of like learning it how to play, and then you get better as it goes and you realize you can do better, whatever it may be. But like the whole point is like the experience in becoming the person that you are is by kind of being like, yeah, like we don't have it now, but we'll have it in 6 months, you know, and the time spent with your daughter and the amount of learning that you did and the failing that you did is the bread. It may not even taste great at 3, you know, but like, you're like, man, like we're making progress. That's what it's all about, you know, like, I like Daniel a lot. Like I was supposed to teach at a Globetrotter and he like reached out to me and like we were having conversations like this dude's a cool dude. I didn't tell him that I was trying to play my cards cool, you know, but like he's a really cool dude. He's a great guy, you know. So
that's funny you know him, man. I didn't know you knew him.
It's, when you said, and I was like, cause I remember his last name was, I didn't know how to pronounce it, was Bertina or Bertina or whatever it was, but really cool guy, you know, like the conversations that I have them are they're not crazy, not astronomical, but like literally a guy I'd never met before. I don't remember the conversation. I'm sure he like watched videotape or something with me, but like, I guess Kristian told him that I was coming, I was going to teach alongside him at an event and he reached out to me. No other instructor did. And he was just like, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, man, like, I mean, this is like college right now. Like, are we going to be best friends? Like, you're going to be at my wedding 10 years from now? Like, the dude was just that cool, you know? Like, you talk about, like, again, like, the jiu-jitsu community has so much potential for great people. Like, the dude doesn't have to talk to me, doesn't give me the time of day, let alone go out of his way to be able to have conversation with me. And I didn't even meet him. It was over a computer, you know? So, I mean, like, I'm sure I could go there and he'd be like, oh, man, like, let me show you around, whatever it may be. But, like, that's jiu-jitsu, man. It's crazy. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about this bread and trying it out when you figure it out. So. Oh,
dude. So let me tell you, yeah, the bread. So I did exactly what you said. I went like 10 days in. I watched the YouTube thing he sent me. And I was like, all right, I got this. And it was started off well. And then I started hitting some roadblocks. But I kept, you know, I got a hard head and I'm like, I'll get it. And then I sent a message to somebody else. I was like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I'm struggling with this bread thing. And this guy is in Seattle. He's like, he asked me all these other questions. I was like, I don't know. So then I went back and I looked at the instructions, basically. And I was like, all right, maybe I got to get more technical. And so I, like, followed the instructions. And then, man, it was like, bam, the bread is back.
If only you did exactly how I told you to do it, it would have been the first time. That's just what, but like it's the experience of going through all that shit before you get back to it again, right? Like that's great, you know. Like,
it makes good stories, man. You know,
like imagine if you were like, Daniel sent me this recipe for bread and I made it.
Yeah, just happened. Was real good.
It was good, but you're like, man, I was making this in the kitchen for months. Couldn't figure it out. I had to have other conversations, you know, like it became a thing. Like that's huge. I mean, that's what it's all about.
It's like a worldwide thing, dude. I'm bringing people in from all over the world to get this one loaf of bread made.
Yeah, but now you're like a world-class, world-renowned bread maker, right? You know, like you're a baker. All of a sudden people are like, man, this bread is amazing. And you're like, yep, best bread in the game, you know? Like, yeah. Awesome. Did you tell Daniel came out and everything else like that? Yeah? Okay.
Black belt bread, man.
There you go. Man, that's it. That's huge. Start sending little pieces of bread, like just like a loaf of bread or a cut of bread, you know, like a nice little stamp on it or something like that. It's perfect.
You heard it here first.
Connecticut. It's not there and be mad.
I'm going to get the bread thing. It's close, man. We're close now. It's funny, though. Like, so a couple years ago, I don't know, I decided, I was like, man, all these people like keep getting put, and this is kind of another thing I got through jiu-jitsu too, was like, it's like people like keep getting like the universe putting these people in my path, and like sometimes I wasn't taking advantage of it, I think because of fear or other stuff, you know. And so I decided, I was like, I'm going to start doing this stuff, you know, that frightens me, or, you know, like the podcast, like the Riddler who you met earlier. I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm going to start doing stuff that, like, you know, scares me, I guess. And he's like, you want to do a podcast? And I was like, sure. What the hell's a podcast? And never heard one before. And so we started doing it. But that's how I met Daniel, like my friend, you know, Nelson from Inverted Gear. He's like, hey, you want to, like, do this thing for Inverted Gear? And I was like, yeah, man, I'll do it, whatever you want. And so he's like, this guy will call it, you know, this guy Daniel will interview you. And I was like, cool, man. So it was this for Daniel Bertina. And during the interview, it was so cool. I was like, hey, would you be on my podcast? And he's like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did a podcast. And then, like, I talked and I didn't hear from him for a while. And then the coronavirus thing came up and he sent me a message. He's like, hey, I got a lot of free time now. You want to do it now? I was like, man, I actually do too. And so we sat down for 2 hours and did the podcast, and now it's funny I'm talking to you, and you know him too.
Small world. It's great. Even Nelson, like I know Nelson. Nelson's a cool dude too. His wife is cool. You know, like they're good people. Train with them, shot the stories with them, but like they're good people. It's the jiu-jitsu community, you know. Like it's nice to hear like how you're talking about like trying to do things that scare me. You know, like that's wow. She's not happy at all.
Now, Andrea, remember Kristian?
Nope.
He was at black belts for butterflies, and I was the uke.
No idea.
You don't remember? Okay. How are you enjoying your time home from school?
Not really.
Figured, man. You don't like learning stuff with dad and mom?
He's not home.
What about the aquarium?
Okay, I like that.
What about the bread?
What about the bread? Is the bread good or bad?
Years.
What are you doing?
There's snacks.
You're going to meet Kristian again because I think we're going to go visit him for the next black belts for butterflies.
Only if you want to come. You don't have to. It's up to you, but it'll be fun.
Is that I feel like I saw Rich post that it's going to be at your place?
If he did, I didn't know about it. It's definitely we're definitely going to have it. I don't know what's going on now because of the coronavirus thing. It's going to get pushed. Right. I was to be hosting the Black Belts for Butterfly event. I was doing a lot of coordinating with him, and we were talking about it. Told him who the instructors would be. We went back and forth with that. So, like, logic is to be hosting Black Belts for Butterflies. It was supposed to be in the summertime, so it's going to impact things. Rich and I have been talking pretty consistently for the past couple of weeks, which is nice, you know. So hopefully once we see the light at the end of the tunnel, we'll kind of, like, rekindle that flame and see, like, where we're going with it, you know. But I'm sure, too, to a degree, a lot of this is going to be impacting people financially. So I'm not sure how many people are going to be quick to jump on going back to training again, doing seminars, helping people with foundations. So I kind of leave that business side to like him and Tony, and like they'll make that decision if they want to do it or if they want to change the date or whatnot. But we'll see from there. But yes, at this point in time, it's I haven't heard we're not doing it, but you know, we're a few months away, but definitely more than welcome to bring the whole family. It'd be a good time.
Oh, heck yeah. We travel as a squad, man.
You will have a blast, and super, super relaxed, very comfortable environment. So even if they came to the academy and they just wanted to hang out, there's TVs, there's the ability, there's a cafe down there, everything. So like your wife could be like, I'll go, but I'm not going to be near you, and she would have a great time. It'd be great, you know. So.
She's super awesome purple belt like competitor, and she's good, man.
There you go. So she's like, no, the same thing with your daughter. She's like, you know what? I'll hang out over here. Cool, do your thing, So it'll be good. But hopefully, but we'll see what happens.
Right. Andrea trains, she trains a couple times a week, but usually the cool thing is usually we bring her to different places, and there's always another kid that she gets to play with. It's almost always like Rich's kids, like she's friends with, and Rich is a great guy, and another one human that I've became friends with through jiu-jitsu that I'm super grateful for. But she's met Rich's kids and always gets to play with them, so.
It'll be a good time. I know there will definitely be kids there. There'll definitely be a good, decent amount of kids, I believe, that will be there just hanging out, or some will be partaking, which would be good, So definitely be the family type of environment. It'll be more relaxed. I put a lot into the planning, so it's definitely going to be a very unique Black Belts for Butterfly in terms of who's there teaching, what's being offered, what's going to be there for everybody to partake in. So it'll be a really good time. So just, like I said, fingers crossed, we'll hopefully keep going with the date that we were projected for. And if not, we'll just push it back further, but it'll be a good time.
When did you leave? When did you move from San Diego?
2017.
You know my friend Adam Bradley?
Yeah, I know Adam. Yeah, close with Adam. We were literally – so Adam came – Adam was blue when he came. Had hair, different style, not as ripped like Rambo, but really cool guy. We would get a lot of people, right? He was just – because I was in Europe with him for Europeans, and then he was going back home afterwards, and he was teaching seminars. But Yeah, Adam's a great guy. Really good jiu-jitsu. I like him a lot. Team White Boy, which is nice. The American squad is being built up. But he's a great guy. His jiu-jitsu has come leaps and bounds. Like it's funny to look and see like Adam, Dom Bell, Connor. There's a decent. I mean, like nobody's really homegrown at Atos anymore. But like to see these guys show up and like. I won't speak too badly of them, but like they're horrible. Their jiu-jitsu sucks, right? And 3-4 months goes by, and you're already seeing such a straight up incline, and they're nowhere even near their potential. And like Adam is literally still just going and going and going and going. Him, Dom, all these guys, like they're just so good. And Adam is literally becoming probably one of the most consistent American grapplers currently at any belt rank. Other than like Josh Hinger and some other guys and JT, but like, I think if he continues his course and he stays focused like he is, because he's very, very committed, you're going to see like him do great things at black belt, which would be great. But like, man, he is a great example to follow. Very, very focused. I like his commitment a lot, but it's come leaps and bounds. Two completely different people compared to what he showed up compared to who he is now.
The best thing about Adam is that, like, before he moved out there, he's from, like, we're all from New Hampshire. He's from, like, an hour west of where we live, like, on the east coast of New Hampshire. He's from, like, an hour west of us. But so, like, I met him right before, like, a month before he moved to San Diego, and he's like, man, I got this dream. I want to go. I want to train at Atos. I want to become a world champion. And so – however many years later, man, you're seeing him doing it, and it's so awesome.
Killing it. And then he's like, I think now too, he's teaching classes, which is great, but he's like running a program. I think he's running like the 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. program. And literally conversations that I've had with him, with André and some other people there, are like that program has escalated just because of his ability to commit to it. He's still training every single day. He's committed to his strength conditioning. Like he's literally, the guy literally is a monster, and like to see literally the amount of change that took place from day one to even day now, I can't imagine what's going to continue, but like, that's how, like, it's so funny to see people that are like, you know what, like my dream is to go out to California and train jiu-jitsu full time. And like, literally, I mean, at HQ, like there's new people every single week. And it's almost tough because you're like, man, like, I don't really want to remember your name. Cause like, if I grow attached to you and then you leave, like, it's going to suck. Right. Like, there's just so many people that are going out there, and like Adam's one of those dudes that literally came, kept his mouth shut and just trained and just trained and just trained. And literally, like, we were all behind the scenes, like, this kid's good. Like, he's going to get really, really good. And like, just like gave him a hard time, and like kind of made him put in his time, and then like, he's like literally he's like one of the most core HQ members who competes consistently. And he's great. Like, gets a lot of credit where it's due, and kid's a monster. It's great to see. I can't imagine in 5 years from now where he's going to be like. He's going to be a monster, absolute monster.
So when he came back to New Hampshire, he came and taught like a Thursday night class. He always comes back and teaches a Thursday night class or whatever at our place. And his teaching has gotten a lot better too. You can see him confident in his teaching. But I'll tell you this, maybe so when he got there, he was on our podcast like a couple of years ago, like maybe a year or two after he'd moved there. And so he like moved to San Diego with this dream. And man, he was telling us the story. Like he got a room in somebody's house. And so we were all calling him creepy, whatever the guy's name was. And like, he's telling us the story. He's living with this guy who's like buying him underwear. Do you know about these things?
I mean, I've heard, like, it's a very common thing. Like, there's a couple of guys that were on the team that were like, I don't know how to.
Carl was.
They were all living very unique lifestyles that they had to be able to train jiu-jitsu as consistently as they were, whatever it may be. But like, yeah, I mean, like I've heard of these things and I've seen some things and I'm just kind of like, whatever. But like, Adam's one of those dudes where it's just like, man, like, I got to do what I got to do to get in there and just get it done, and like, hey, Adam's a good looking dude, like, I don't know. It's not my place, but, I heard things, like I said, but I mean, I don't know, but, I definitely would imagine they're true. I definitely
I told him we'll never question your commitment, dude.
Never. 100%.
He's like, man, I wouldn't. He like answered some ad in Craigslist or something. Ended up on this guy's couch and was like, supposedly there was 2 bedrooms and there was only 1 bedroom.
Yep, there you go. And it's like, oh man, I got to really train tomorrow, so this is the best thing to do, right? So yeah, I guess so. How bad do you want to be a world champion? Now he's a world champion. So
Exactly.
Sacrifice. Sometimes it's on a Craigslist couch. But
dude, he suffered, and a lot of people talk a lot of stuff about doing what following their dream, but not that many people follow through. And so he's an inspiration. He's doing it.
Like I said, you could literally do like a documentary on it. Like there'll be blue belts, purple belts, brown, black, all belt ranks, all experience. People that have already had some type of success, people have none at all, people have never competed, people that are already world, whatever it may be. All of them, they show up. And you're kind of like flipping the coin, are they going to stay or not? And like, I've literally seen guys that drove cross country in their truck, and they literally, in their car, whatever it may be, and they literally train, shower, and they sleep in their car in the parking lot. And they do that over and over again. You're just like, yeah, and jiu-jitsu is not a lifestyle where like Josh is walking around. He's like, I've got millions of dollars. I'll help you guys out. Like everybody's to a degree struggling, So, but like you see all of them, and like it's tough mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it may be. And like some people, they literally spend a year or whatever the time frame is sacrificing, like borderline starving themselves, not being able to afford to eat as much as they should be, not having comfortable living arrangements. And they go to a tournament, they either win or they lose, and then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, or like, hey, okay, well now I won, what changes? Nothing, like keep going, it's tough, and like, I think that's what makes the environment the way that it is, like nobody's there like, oh, I'm living a great life. This is easy. I've got everything that I want. I'll just show up, because like that type of grind and that sacrifice is what makes people show up and work the way they do, like I said, it's even tougher for a higher belt because you got dudes that are in there that are blue belts or juveniles, whatever it may be, and they will crush you. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I wanted to be a world champion. I'm a brown belt or a black belt. And this 15-year-old kid is trashing me and he hasn't won anything. And it's like, yep, like you definitely start to see reality there, and it's tough, but it's like in terms of being in an environment to where you have the best possibility of the best training in the world and the best opportunity for learning what it takes to compete and win, that's the place to be, but it's not for everybody, and it's tough, it's cutthroat. People literally leave, people stay. Some people quit jiu-jitsu. Some people get their black belts, but it's tough, man. It's super tough.
See, especially, now at least there is some prize money, it seems, but man, until pretty recently, it's like you're paying to compete at that thing, you're not even getting paid. You're paying.
That's the thing that's like, it's nicer now to have sponsors. Look at Adam, right? Like Adam's not going to get any sponsors as a blue belt, and like, he had to win a lot. He had to keep being consistent, and he got picked up by Kings. Like he's getting help, but still, like it's not an easy lifestyle. It's easier now because of the way the world works and social media and whatnot. But like, it's hard. Like if you're training full time and you're not teaching, what are you doing for money? Like I don't know anybody that's so good as a purple belt that they literally are making $2-3 grand a month in salary. They're just like, no one's doing that. So it's like, you got to do something, and it's a hustle. It's a grind, and you just got to, that's what makes you want to win that much more, and like, you see the kids there's kids at HQ that are like world-class athletes, and they're working like 50 hours swing shifts, and they're just coming in afterwards, and they're just grinding, and they're just working, and they're so good, and you're like, man, if this guy was getting 9 hours of sleep, he'd probably be winning worlds, and he's just like, but he's like, hey, I just won't give up. I love it, but it's tough. It's so tough to see people come in and like be like, oh, this is what it takes. And it's like, it's not even guaranteed you have a shot, and it's like, sometimes that's hard in itself for people to kind of grasp. But you're talking about, you got to pay to train. You got to pay to eat. You got to pay to compete. It's like, where's this money coming from? That's tough. What are you selling gis? Are you doing privates? What? But even like it's when you're in that kind of group too, it's the all-star game, so if someone's coming in to do privates and he's got his pick of the litter of all these people he can do privates with, I don't think he's going to pick a blue or purple belt that's offering him for $40 an hour or whatever you're trying to do to make that money, you know, like you're probably going to pay $250 to do it from Josh or somebody else, you know? So it's tough, man. It's really tough.
And San Diego is not a cheap place to live either.
Stupid expensive.
Right.
You got to live on someone's couch from a Craigslist ad, you know, but it's a full commitment, you know, like you're talking about how you're getting there, how you're surviving, how you're going to thrive to get there. Like it's tough in every shape, way or form, you know, and it's kind of like you got to get there and be there in the moment and kind of make the right choices as you're going along to kind of solidify yourself being there. But like, there are people that a majority of even competitors, I would say competitors, but there's a majority of people that like watch competition. Like they'd be like, I don't know who that guy is. And you're like, you're like, oh, that guy literally is probably top 20 in the world, but he hasn't won a world title and whatever it may be. And like, I mean, he's bending over backwards to make it work just to be there and to compete, you know? And it's like, it's really tough to see all the people that go in there and put in that kind of work and they don't get the results that they want, or they do. And maybe they change their mind, or maybe, but it's literally an environment that like you live or you die. It's that gruesome because you're giving everything to be there. So there's no other choice.
What was your goal when you went to Atos?
So like the reason why I left Las Vegas is because in 2013, I won my major titles. In 1 year, I won Worlds, Pan Ams, and Europeans. And I was doing a lot of work with Drysdale. I was teaching a lot of the classes. I was running one of the programs entirely. I was stepping in. Like I was literally Drysdale's right-hand man. Like I was helping with the affiliation stuff. I was helping with the business. I was everything. My hand was literally in everything with him. The only difference was that my name wasn't on the door, and he was very respectful. He was very appreciative of me. So like I felt definitely appreciated, but it got to a point to where, and I didn't deliver the information well, that I wanted to be prepared for black belt. I just won everything at brown, and I didn't know when I was going to get my black belt, but I saw that there was a huge gap between winning brown belt worlds and black belt worlds. And I felt that if I just kept doing what I did to do at brown, I would not win black. So I had a conversation with him. I said, I'm mentally just not feeling confident. I don't think that I'm ready to compete at black. And he's like, who said you get your black belt? And I'm like, no one said it, right? Like, but I'm saying that if I had it tomorrow or even next year, my environment I don't feel confident in, I'm not training enough. And he goes, okay, then train more. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then he's like, but you know, you have to either teach all the classes that you have or none of them. And I'm kind of, that puts me in an odd spot because now I don't have the finances to kind of thrive, right? And he's just like, well, like you understand it's business too, right? Like the students deserve a committed instructor. So you either have to commit to them or fully commit to not being with them, and then commit to yourself and just training. But like we can't mix and match doing both, right? Try to come up with different solutions, just didn't work. So the reason why I went to Drysdale's is because I literally value Drysdale. I said, man, he's an ADCC champ. He's won this, he's won that. Like I believe that is where I'll be my best at. And when that shift was taking place and Atos was a powerhouse, and the Lloyd Irvin guys that I knew were making their change to go over to Atos, and they were now enjoying their new environment. I had a conversation with JT. He's just like, man, like there's no other better place to be than this place. Like, you know, not that they're not your family and we are your family, whatever it may be, but like you would be a great asset here and you would be welcomed here with open arms and et cetera, et cetera. And I had a conversation with Rob, and I was like, hey, can I do my camps at HQ? And he agreed to it. And then I had a conversation with André, and he said it was okay. So I was literally wearing a Zenith patch, and I was doing my Pan Am camps and everything at HQ, and it just started to catch up, and I was spending more time there than I was at Drysdale's, and it just didn't work, you know? And I was just like, okay, like if I'm going to have to go, I'm going to go to the place where I feel the most confident. Now it's at Atos. So I literally drove to Atos, and I sat down, and before I made a decision, I had a conversation with André on the couch, and I was just like, hey, I want to come here. I want to compete for Atos. I want my black belt from you. And he already had known that I just won worlds and a bunch of other stuff, and he was familiar, and he was just like, you can do whatever you want, and I'm supporting it. But whatever decision you make, you've got to fully commit to, and I'm going to hold you to it. And what he meant was my black belt, because when I showed up, he sat me for a long time, and I was really butthurt about it. But, you know, like, this is where I want to be. And he's like, okay, cool, put in your time. And went in, started teaching, started training, and then that was it, So the decision was easy for me that I thought that I had to be with the best team in the world to be the best jiu-jitsu fighter that I could be. And at that point in time, it was HQ, and I'm still committed to that decision. I don't regret it. So once I got there, like there was just a huge shift in my jiu-jitsu, mentally and physically, and I was already experiencing it, but it was a huge decision for me. If I didn't make it, I don't know where I would be, but I had something great with Drysdale. I was Zenith's first adult world champion, which is great. I was already integrated into that system. I probably had a great future, but there's just this competitive thing missing from me that I wanted to win a black belt world title, and I thought that I needed to be at Atos to do it, so that's where I went.
So now a couple years later, you're in Philly. What are your goals? Your goals are different now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I just a couple months ago kind of took a step down. So I'm kind of not competing anymore, quote unquote, retiring, whether it's partially retiring or fully, but my goals have just shifted. I want to invest myself more into the academy, into the affiliation. I want to grow the business side of what's going on. I want to be able to help some other people accomplish their goals if they're competitors, and right now, because Logic has grown so fast in such a short period of time that I don't really have 35 black belts that I can be like, hey, I'm gonna train for 6 months and not teach class. You can do it, right? So right now it's just I don't even have the desire to compete. So I can kind of train how I want to when I want to type of mentality, which is nice. I can just teach more. So the goal is now just basically forging Logic into what it's going to be in the future, which is being a strong structure of an HQ here in Philadelphia, being a representative of the Atos chapter, but also having my own affiliation that's separate from Atos. So that's growing as we speak, and I'll kind of maximize that thing out, and I'll focus on that side of the business as well. And once I'm ready to make the shift, if that desire and that fire is still there, I'll go back to competing again, but I'm kind of not into it anymore. I like training, but I don't really have that cutthroat mentality that I did, 7 years ago, where I just thought I'd eat somebody, put them in front of me, I'll kill them, and right now I'm just kind of yeah, it is what it is. I won what I had to win. I told myself that I needed to be a black belt world champion to have a successful academy, and I lied to myself because I had one and I'm not, so that motivation, that desire to be a black belt world champion is not as there as much as it used to be. There's that little chip on my shoulder where it's just I don't think you can do it, so go do it, but it's not big enough to where it actually pushes me anymore. So I just kind of take a back seat, let my students grow, let the academy grow, and watch my daughter a little bit more, grow, and just focus on teaching. But right now, the goal is literally happening in front of my face, and it's just going to, every day it'll keep reshaping and we'll get bigger and bigger and just grow efficiently. But that's all it is for now.
It's kind of a different kind of fun, right? When you're competing.
Competing is not fun.
Right.
Yeah, it's got this, like I said, I visited a little bit earlier where at one point in time it felt like this, then it felt like that, and it felt like this. But as a competitor, I know for me what it would take for me to feel confident going into competing, training 3 times a day, eating the same meal twice a day, every single day, no girls, no alcohol, no going out, jiu-jitsu. So if I don't at least at a minimum do that, I don't even have the confidence of stepping on the mat and competing against Kaio, Bruno, Talos, and all these guys. If I wanted to, and I wanted to actually win, that would be my foundation. I'd have to do even more. You're talking about, taking steroids, doing strength conditioning, bringing in people to train. I don't even know, because it's not even my thought process. But as a competitor that then left San Diego, I'm this is really tough. How can I train this many times a day with that many high quality training partners where my ceiling's a lot lower because my student base, and I'm teaching as well. My time's split instead of being the student and the leader, So it was enjoyable lifestyle in San Diego because I had André and I had a team to keep me disciplined, to keep me focused, because if I didn't do my job, they didn't have a training partner to train with. So it was very, very accountable for multiple directions. It was fun, but it was brutal. It was hell, and it's not something that I enjoyed in the moment. It's only when I look back and I go, man, that's great stuff. It's what made us who we are. Right. But I can't even duplicate that to a degree in Philadelphia. just because of who I am now, what I have and what I have to be responsible for. Like, I've got a wife, I've got a daughter, I've got a house, I've got 2 cars, I've got a 10,000 square foot academy. Like, it's just not in the cards, you know. Like, André, when he prepares for ADCC, is literally like, you're teaching these classes, you're teaching these classes, I am training. That's it, you know. Like, perhaps when I get to that mentality and that state, I can do those things too. But right now I'm just kind of like, I don't even want to, you know. So what I'm doing now is fun, you know, like traveling, teaching still, which is great, but like showing up at the academy, teaching a class, and like, yeah, I'll roll. And there's no, what are we rolling for? It's just roll to roll, you know, like that shift there. Like, it literally, I felt like I was taking years off my life, having that pressure on myself of, I need to win, and I'm not even doing anything, to just like, hey, let it go and just have fun, you know? So now I'm having fun and killing people, still the same, but just not competing.
I mean, it's hard too, right? I mean, my goal, because I'm older, I'm 45. I'm an old man. I want to roll for.
So that's number one, which is great, you know. So
I want to roll for a while, right? But like, you know, that type of stuff, I think you can't train like that for a long period of time and think you're going to roll for the rest of your life.
What? Like, literally, like, even then, I was in a constant state of hitting my comfort zone, like feeling like I was burning the candle at both ends. This was going on. It'd be like, it would take 3 months, then it would go to 2 months, then it would go to 1 month. Then it was like literally like every day I was hitting that thing. And I was like, man, like, what's going on? And like, my first year there was hard because I literally had this luxurious lifestyle in Las Vegas. It's cheaper to live there. You know, like, I was a young bachelor, right? Like, it's Las Vegas, you know, going out. Well, I wasn't going out, but like, I could hang out with my friends. I could like enjoy myself, still being in my environment. I had money, you know, and then literally said like, you know what? Let's put this in a blender and just spit it out at you. And I'm in San Diego, poor, like not even having the money to eat. So like, even if I needed to cut weight, which I never did, I literally didn't have to because I was just starving. Like, I could only eat sometimes once a day, you know? So like, the mentality and like terms of what it took, like, I probably shaved off years of my life, the stress, the focal point, what I put my kidneys through. And it's just tough, you know, like, there's no way. But like, I also started a little bit older. So like, it wasn't part of my natural habitat, but like, there's kids in there that have never trained differently. So they don't know differently. So their body and their mind doesn't know differently. Like, this is just every day. Right. Like, and I'm just like, man, like, this is crazy. Like, I literally see people that come in and for whoever they are, and they take a competition class and they break halfway. And you're talking about, we do this every single day, Monday through Friday. And you broke halfway through. Like, imagine doing this. Like, there's no Worlds camp. You train year round for Worlds. There's no break. Like, oh, what are we doing today? No, there's none of that. So it's tough, you know, like, and those, the ones who can weather the storm are literally just forces that need to be reckoned with. Like, JT Torres is the hardest working dude in the room. And even though he is amazing at jiu-jitsu, you can't mentally break him because he's unbreakable. You know, like, and it's from that kind of training. Like, the dude will not show any emotion, and you literally will have to kill him for him to die. Like, you wouldn't know, you know, but it's because of being there like that, you know. Like, I don't know how people do it for longer than they do, but it takes a toll on you, you know. It took a toll on me, but now look at JT, you know, he's back home in New York and he's doing his thing, and he's taking that Atos mentality and he's forcing it into his environment. He's pumping it. And his students are like, man, this is crazy. Now it's natural to them. And they do that, you know, and like, I'll have some of my students that go up there and cross train and they're like, man, it's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, it's tough, right? You know, it's competition class, you know? So, but like, yeah, I mean, like, now it's different. I want to be able to walk my daughter down the aisle when she gets married. I'm not trying to be crippled, you know, like, my body's already falling apart and I'm not even competing anymore. You know, like, you're talking about, like, you feel the difference of like, my neck feels good. My joints feel good. It's been 3-week break. Like, making that shift from not training as hard as consistently, like, my body was just like, thank you, you know, like, yeah, no problem. And I'm falling apart and I'm 32, you know, like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I don't even see my life past 40. I don't know how I'm going to make it, you know, like,
it happens quick, man. You'll be there before you know it.
I can't believe it, you know, like, but I want to be able to do jiu-jitsu, you know, like, I want to be able to train when I'm 40. I want to be able to teach when I'm 40. I want to be able to evolve, you know, and like, at some point in time, it's just thinking about the future, you know, like, I can't keep I just can't keep killing it like that. I got to stop being the hammer and the nail and just kind of like watch someone else do it.
So did you try to bring, I mean, I'm assuming you've trained with a lot of interesting individuals. I'm assuming you've taken stuff from all those guys and brought it to Logic.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been greatly drawn to the aspect of jiu-jitsu of teaching, you know? So like teaching is like definitely something that I pride myself over. It's like something that I obsess with still. Like I used to obsess about competing and teaching, and now like when I dream at nights about just teaching, you know, but like I've had the ability to take my jiu-jitsu and test it. I've had the ability to see it fail and succeed. I've seen other people's jiu-jitsu fail and succeed on me. I've watched it from other people, you know, so I've definitely been in a situation to where I feel confident as an instructor being able to share all different types of jiu-jitsu because I've experienced doing it, having it done on me, witnessing it, breaking it down, understanding it, asking the questions so I have the answers later, you know, but yeah, I mean, it's great to be in an environment like that to where you have so many different games, so many innovations, you know, and so many more in-depth type of thought process that I can literally bring to Logic, and it makes it more unique. But my students don't even know any differently because they're like, oh, this is just how it is, right? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not how it is. This is like not – I could be teaching the same thing for 6 months and doing a bad job, just like do whatever, you know, but like they're spoiled, but they don't know it, you know. But I have like – I'll have JT in, I'll have Josh in, like, you know, like I had people in Andre and Angelica, you know, they're just kind of like, oh, this is normal, right? And then other people come in, they're like, whoa. And they're like, what? And they're like, that's Josh Hinger. I'm like, oh yeah, he's here all the time. Whoa. And I'm like, you guys are spoiled, you know? So it's nice to be a part of the team that I am and to have the friends that I do and to be able to have that constant ability to bring that to Logic to make our families bigger, you know, and Andre's a great supporter, and so is I'm really close with Josh and some of the other guys, so it's nice to have them here to be able to support them, put money in their pockets, be able to give them different types of abilities. Like, oh, now they're a student of mine on this website. But I'm like, cool, you know. So that was for me like the reason why I made the path that I did. So when I had my own academy one day, I could check as many boxes as possible for what I can offer to my students, and I wanted to have the jiu-jitsu that I did and have the ability to bring in people that I could. And that's, you know, that's another reason for why I made the decisions I made in the past. So I'm glad that they're flourishing. But literally my students don't even care. They're just kind of like, oh, okay. Who's like, it's Josh. Cool. And I'm like, Josh is really good at jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, okay. You know, I'm like, man, you guys are crazy, you know, but it's stuff like that. That's nice to look back on. I'm like, you'll understand, I guess, in a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see everything come together and be able to be like, man, like, you know, my professor came to my academy, you know, like that was huge, you know, and Andre came in and he was like, this is great. I'm like, oh, thanks. You know, like, so that's cool. You know, like, remember the days where like you were at my academy and you couldn't eat, and now I'm at yours and you're feeding me. And I'm like, yep. You know, so it's nice. It's full circle.
That is awesome, man. Where's Josh from originally?
Josh is from California. So his family lives in Temecula. But he's bounced around a lot. He went to school in Indiana. He trained there. He's got a good following chunk there, and got his black belt from Andre when he was in Indiana. He was training with like Tim Sled and all those guys, and then got his degree. Had a conversation with Andre, and as a black belt, had some mild forms of success with competing, like Grappler's Quest and whatnot, but no IBJJF stuff or ADCC stuff. Had a conversation with Andre, and Andre said, man, you come to my academy and you train full-time, I will make you a black belt world champion. And Josh literally dropped everything and moved to San Diego. And I forget the time frame. There's a video out. There's an interview about it. But, like, Andre gave a time frame. I think it was, like, 3 years of, like, he'd make him a black belt world champion, and it ended up being, like, 4 or 5. But Josh came, couch surfed, bounced around from place to place, got a rhythm of things, and then literally as a black belt, not even as a lower belt, jiu-jitsu and he was a good black belt. Now he's a great black belt, and that difference is huge, you know, but like he literally dropped everything, sacrificed, starved, did whatever he had to do, and became a black belt world champion. Now he's a jiu-jitsu quote unquote god, you know, and it's crazy to see. And he literally wasn't even part of Atos in terms of his environment. He came to Atos as a black belt, you know, like, and Andre gave him his black belt, which was huge, you know, and to see that kind of like thing take place, which was big, but like shows up as a black belt. We're kind of like, who's this dude? Who's this white guy? You know, like, I'm like, what's going on? And like, he guillotined everybody. That was it.
I stole a lot of his stuff, man. He's a guy actually like I've taken a lot of stuff from.
Next time he's here, I'll let you know, but like, you can come down. Like, he's a great instructor. He's got this very unique character and personality, and like, you either love it or you hate it, you know, but like, he's a great dude, great human being, you know, like, he's great with kids. He's an awesome dude, but like, his jiu-jitsu is really good. Like, it's like, it looks effortless because of how much work he's put into it, but like, he literally just annihilates people. Like, it's almost, I almost don't want to train so I can just watch him, you know, and like, to see him do that. And like I said, he's come leaps and bounds, and he was good when he showed up. He's just great now, but like, that dude is so good at jiu-jitsu, and like, his information for his guillotines, and I mean, even at his other positions, it's really strong. You know, he's a great instructor. He teaches a lot at HQ, kids and adults, you know, so next time he comes down, I'll let you know, but he's a guy that like, you need to train with, and you'll literally realize how insignificant you are. Every time I train with him, he's like, man, you're getting so good. And I'm like, shut up. He's just guillotine. And then you tell me to do something else, and you do that to you. And you're just like, oh, okay. Sounds good. So good.
Yeah, man. I would love to train with him. I'll take you up on that. But I mean, I plan on being at Logic this summer. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a decent sized house. We're going to bring the whole family. You guys can stay. You'll be comfortable, you know, so you're always welcome. Once the academy is open, it's popping. It's good to go, you know, and it's in a good area in terms of food where we can go and hang out. But you're definitely welcome. Just let me know. We'll plan it, put you up, do whatever you need to do. But I think I've driven to, I don't know how far it is to New Hampshire, wherever it may be, but like, I think when the times that Rich has come down, it's only been like 3-hour drive for him. He just like goes and come back. And I'm like, you're a little crazy. I would stay with me for the night, but you guys are always welcome, and you can crash and do your thing. Stay for a couple of days if you like.
Dude, yeah. I mean, for us, it's like probably 6-hour drive, I think. But yeah, we make a few days of it.
I'll pick you up, whatever you want to do. But you're more than welcome to. If you want to crash and spend a couple of days, you're more than welcome to. Your family, you, whatever you want.
I'm in. We're in, man. Dude, I'm glad I got to meet you at Black Belts for Butterflies at the last one, and I'm stoked that like I saw the webinar and I watched it and I was like, oh man, this is so good. And then you posted something about podcasts. I'm like, well, I got the podcast for you, my friend.
Right back into the universe, right? Yeah, no, I mean, appreciate you being my UK for Black Belts for Butterflies, but yeah, man, it's been a blast. I really appreciate you. I like your character a lot. Wish we could hang out and see each other more. There's obviously a decent amount of distance between us, but yeah, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you guys having me. You know, it's awesome, and definitely was looking forward to this. It was a great time. Hopefully do it again in the future, but hopefully you and I will see each other before we have to speak each other like this again, which would be great. But maybe the next podcast I'll be up there. You can come down here, wherever it may be. We'll make it work, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, man, let's do it in person for sure.
Yes, please.
All right, brother. Have a good night, man. Stay healthy.
You'll be safe.
Thanks, buddy. Peace.